Now a question. What have Herbert Hoover, Art Linkletter, Jack London, and Richard Nixon all had in common? Well, they've all been members of the exclusive all-male Bohemian Club in California, where every year at this time, the elite from around the country get together for 2.5 weeks of fun and games. Steve Shepard has this special assignment report.
More than 2,000 members of San Francisco's exclusive and all-male Bohemian Club have once again descended on Northern California. These men will spend most of the month of July encamped on some 2,700 acres of pristine and privately owned redwood forest. Forest very much like this. The place is called Bohemian Grove, and it's located just 80 miles north of San Francisco. The Grove is the Bohemian Club's summer retreat, and its facilities are hidden beneath lush forest canopy extending south from the banks of Sonoma County's Russian River. For more than a century, the camp has been a place where club members and guests from all across America gather to relax. The retreat is divided into dozens of small camps, the most prominent of which is called Mandalay. Among its members are businessmen like Leonard Firestone and Edgar Kaiser, and political figures like Gerald Ford, Henry Kissinger, William French Smith, and George Shultz. President Reagan, Vice President Bush, and Defense Secretary Weinberger are members of other camps. Richard Nixon is a Bohemian, and so are high-ranking executives of such companies as Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America. For the most part, the men of Bohemian Grove are over 50, highly successful, and, according to many employees, politically conservative.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, in 1980, the popular button was Free the Fortune 500.
Membership in the Grove is by invitation only and is determined by such factors as social standing, occupation, and personal connections. Privacy is one of the Grove's most cherished virtues. Members may not photograph, record, speak, or write about activities at the retreat. While many public officials are Grove members, the press is a distinctly unwelcome guest.
We're from ABC News.
Well, get back there.
Can we talk to somebody in the...
Get back there.
Anyone willing to navigate a boat up the Russian River can get a glimpse of the northern edge of the compound, but that's about all. Still, there are outsiders who have researched the Grove. Sociology professor William Dumhoff found out enough to write a book on the place.
Well, I think it's a playground for the powerful. It's a place where wealthy men from all of the United States gather for 2 weeks to relive summer camp with this ceremony called the cremation of care that begins the 2-week encampment where the body of dull care, symbolizing woes and concerns, is burned on an altar in front of a big owl statue. When that ceremony ends, they all start to cheer and yell and hand each other a beer.
Other regular activities include the production of 2 plays, one of which involves major sets, orchestral music, and extravagant costumes. The other play appears to be just a bit on the lighter side, at least judging from these old photos. Members also spend time swimming, hiking, relaxing in the sun, and doing a bit of drinking from the Grove's own privately labeled spirits. Like a boys' camp, the Grove has a symbol, in this case a somewhat fierce-looking owl. It also has a patron saint, St. John of Nepomuk, a legitimate 13th century Bohemian canonized for his sense of honor. What the Grove does not have is any women, not even as employees. Despite its camp-like atmosphere, the Grove does host some serious business.
To the degree that there's anything important happens at the Bohemian Grove, it's political. The important speeches that have been made at the Bohemian Grove have been made, for instance, and the best example, by Richard Nixon. Eisenhower gave a speech there. It was the first time the West Coast establishment really saw him close up.
Discussions at the Grove in the 1930s helped lead to the development of nuclear power and the atomic bomb. It was at the Grove in 1967 that Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan hashed out differences over their presidential ambitions. Each year, guests like Henry Kissinger or Zbigniew Brzezinski address members on their areas of expertise. Presidential counselor Edwin Meese will be among this year's speakers. And each year, other guests come to the Grove simply to enjoy themselves. This year, CIA Director William Casey is a scheduled guest of John McCone, former CIA Director. Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn has been invited as a guest of baseball owner Peter O'Malley. Despite the presence of so many notables, the Grove is not without its small headaches. Anti-nuclear demonstrators gathered near the entrance to the retreat this year to wave signs and chant slogans. The Grove is also facing a suit from the state of California because it refuses to hire women. Still, the Bohemian Grove seems in no danger of passing. Herbert Hoover called it the world's greatest men's party, and there is a list of powerful people.
Alright, Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Makrakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutation to all the brothers and a few sisters out there. Unto the Israelite foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. It's going to be a quick show to the spirit of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua. And all of you brothers and a few sisters out there be edified. And this is Bohemian Grove, 1981, ABC News Report. That's when news was somewhat news, even though it's always been bought and sold, but still people they still showed good, interesting stuff back in the days, you know. But see this actual footage in the news, like it was just normal, and to see the madness that came about from this. I believe it was either Reagan or Nixon. So the Bohemian Grove is nothing but a faggoty. So he said something like a faggoty party or something like that. But all the top leaders participate in these weirdo behaviors, and like it's normal. You know, like at the end of the broadcast, the person said pretty much that everybody around the world, all the top billionaires and leaders, want to get down to their faggoty thing. And I believe, let me see if I can find it. There was a scene, slot here, when it was showing.
Button was up. Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America.
So you talking about the top people that changes people's lives. So right now, if you say hypothetically, which is happening, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, who else? I don't know. All got together and did a thing. And then right after they did their thing, things change. All right? Facebook, I'm talking about hypothetical now. Facebook all of a sudden only work with Microsoft computers or something like that. Elon Musk is the first one to, I don't know, built a robot or something like that. Would that be considered to be conspiracy theories when you see top leaders get together? No, it wouldn't. Okay? It wouldn't be. It's abnormal. For all these top guys, people that changes lives, and all the top people that saying at that particular time that own majority of things, they changed lives. All right. It says
gather to relax. The retreat is divided into dozens of small camps, the most prominent of which is called Mandalay. Among its members are businessmen like Leonard Firestone and Edgar Kaiser, and political figures like Gerald Ford, Henry
Edward Firestone, the owner of Firestone Tires. All right.
Kissinger, William French Smith.
And Henry Kissinger was well known. Well, he's another bastard. He's the one that but he's the one that quoted said that military men are nothing but expendable, something like that. Oh, something to that extent.
And George Shultz. President Reagan, Vice President Bush, and Defense Secretary Weinberger are members of other camps. Richard Nixon.
These are the heads of, at that time, these are the heads of this quote-unquote free world, getting together with businessmen, oil tycoons, people in technology and so forth. And nobody's seen that to be odd. But let me just get to the
Bohemian, and so are high-ranking executives of such companies as Eastern Airlines, Standard Oil of Indiana, and Bank of America. For the most part, the men of Bohemian Grove are over 50, highly successful, and, according to many employees, politically conservative.
Well, each year, many of them seem to have a stunt or try to come up with a stunt. Last year, in 1980, the popular button was free the 14th.
The way he's talking, he's just a freaking fruitcake. All right, this is what the leaders of the free world have associated with them, man. All right.
500.
Membership in the Grove is by invitation only and is determined by such factors as social standing, occupation, and personal connections. Privacy is one of the Grove's most cherished virtues. Members may not photograph, record, speak, or write about activities at the retreat. While many public officials are Grove members, the press is a distinctly unwelcome guest.
We're from ABC News.
Well, get back there. Get back there.
Can we talk to somebody in the...
Get back there.
Anyone willing to navigate a boat up the Russian River can get a glimpse of the northern edge of the compound, but that's about all. Still, there are outsiders who have researched the Grove. Sociology professor William
who recently, not recent, well, I can say recent. The last person that actually, quote unquote, got to see everything was what's his name, Alex Jones, showing you that in order for him to do that, he had to be able to get in, because he got in and he made it public and nothing happened to this man. All right, but there it is.
And concerns is burned on an altar in front of a big owl statue. When that ceremony ends, they all start to cheer and yell and hand each other a beer. And
Other regular activities include the production of 2 plays, one of which involves major sets, orchestral music, and extravagant costumes. The other play appears to be just a bit on the lighter side, at least judging from...
Let's focus on that. Get it? Let's focus on that part.
In this case, a somewhat fierce-looking owl. Judging from these old photos, major sets, orchestral... Regular activities include the production of 2 plays, major sets, orchestral music, and extravagant costumes. The other play appears to be just a bit on the lighter side.
That lighter side is them dressing like women. All right? That's the lighter side. So these are the world leaders of this side of the world, and this is what they do. The corruption continues to go, which everybody should know. This is not a secret. All right, but this shows you how deep this thing is. And right after all these meetings, things change dramatically. All right, for the worse, because these people get together in a homosexual activity and pass unrighteous decrees, which I'm going to start with that. It says, matter of fact, I'm sorry with this one. Micah 2:1 says, "Woe to them that devises iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." And that's what these leaders do. They pass evil laws. They get together and do their little abominable things, abominable acts. And they themselves pass wicked-ass laws, which comes down to the little people and affects everybody else, which is what? The poor. All right, Isaiah 10:1, it says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and write grievousness which they have prescribed," because it is in their power of their hand. All right, when somebody subscribes something, you go to the doctor and you say, "I'm sick here and there," he subscribed you medicine, saying that this is what you have to take. Go to the pharmacy see what they subscribe you, and these are the medicines that you have to take. All right, it's quite simple. So they subscribe unrighteous decrees. All right, when a woman gets married to a husband, the husband will lose custody and have to pay alimony of the child, and she takes half of this man's stuff or more, depending how rich he is. That's an unrighteous decree. Okay? Everything about the society is unrighteous. And these are the things that these power-driven individuals do. All right? In public or in privacy, which a lot of things they do is in secrecy. Somebody that got to getting to be secret, do things in secrecy, that's not a person that you want to be around. That's some evil shit. It says Psalm 64:1. It says, a Psalm of David, "Hear my voice, O Yahweh, and my prayer. Preserve my life from the fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked." The Bohemian Grove is one of the many counsels of the wicked. Okay? Many, many other councils. They have the Trilateral Commission. They got G7, the G20. They got a whole bunch of different meetings of the mind. These are the secret council. You have the UN. All right, Psalms the 83rd chapter, showing you what everything is. All everything is about is trying to destroy blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is the secret council of the wicked. What the world will consider, what they will name this of the illuminated ones. Okay, which means this means light bearer. They don't have the light, but they think they have the light. They have secret councils. Okay. And then their secret counsels is how to make everyone's life miserable. Right afterwards, that was 1981. So after that, did anything get better? You had AIDS, you had the crack epidemic. So every year from 1981, which it goes beyond that. I believe it said since 1967 or something. They've been having these bohemian groves. So things just got worse and worse and worse throughout the years. Okay, in the 1980s, I believe, early 80s was one of the worst times in America with poverty, welfare, crime-ridden cities, and then you introduce crack to the inner cities, and then from there you had a thing called AIDS, which was born in the 1970s, but it only hit certain communities. Well, guess what? That all came out of the plan of these secret councils. All right, which they get the laws, they get their inspiration by Molech, which is a demon. This is another way of saying Satan, which I believe Molech was the god of Moab or Ammon, one of them nations, which is another form of Satan. All right, it says, "Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity." Let's look up the word insurrection. Insurrection, Ra'agash, thorn and company, noun masculine, a thorn, scheming. All right. So these people, this insurrection was part of the scheme or scamming of everything. It says tumultuous crowd, company, insurrection. To what? To overthrow governments, because at the time in the 80s, only a few. There was Reagan was known for Reaganomics, and Reagan was known for getting a lot of people money. Certain people, all right. Not everybody was making the money that was coming out at the time, but there was a lot of turmoil and hell that came out of a lot of these meetings, man. Who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And that tongue that deceiveth mischief at the time was, you had a few channels. I believe it's still 5 channels at the time. And you had the TV show Cops because of the whole crack epidemic. But the main meal at that time, the big bad boogeyman was Jake. All right. So you didn't want to let the local media, but you had a lot of media personnel. I believe it was Peter Jennings. He was one of the top guys in United States TV, anywhere. ABC, I believe. And he had other couple guys, but he was in a lot of these meetings. And he helped carry out the slander that was taking place on Jake. Matter of fact, get that real quick. Revelations, Salakia. Wow, I haven't read it in a while. 12 and 10, I believe. Yep. It says Revelations 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, "Now is come salvation, strength, and the kingdom of our power, and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down." So who's the accuser of our brethren? Who's brethren? The angels' brethren, which were the Israelites, who blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You were at that time, still to this very moment, still to this day, the worst of the worst, the biggest gangsters, hoodlums, you name it. You had all these top media tycoons that was in these meetings, all right? And they consistent, and there was a trend that was going on, putting blacks, so quote unquote blacks, Latinos, as public enemy number one. The birth of that, in the late, I believe, the late 80s, around the early 90s. No, I'm sorry, it was in the 90s, but that was the birth of it. You had Hillary Clinton campaign about super predators, all right, which is the extension of all the things that there was being said about you blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, they was considered to be super predators. They was considered to be drug dealers. You had Nancy Reagan, I will never forget that, and her whole campaign on crack is whack and say no to drugs, you know. And because when at the end of the day, who was the face of that? Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, they was being accused of the worst possible things that anybody can be accused of. All right, because Esau and his media was painting Jake as the worst, but Jake was doing bad back then. I remember. I remember watching regular television, Channel 5 News, and there was a countdown on the death toll in the city. All right, because crime was that bad. But who made these things happen? The secret counsels. All right, let me finish this off. And says, which accused them before our power day and night. So they consistently accuse blacks, Latinos, Native Americans of being the worst of the worst. All right, that was part of these meetings, man. Let me go finish this off in Psalm 64. And 3 says, who wet their tongue. What do you mean wet? Sharpened. All right, they sharpen their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot arrows, even bitter words. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. The commune of laying snares. Privately they say, who shall see them? All right. So they do all these things in secret, and they believe that nobody can see them. Okay, that's why there's a media block. There's only a handful of people that can go over there. And the way the man said it, he was like, "Yeah, this is what he said? He said this is a boys' club. No, that's a gay club. All right, that's a gay club. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick, and then I'm gonna wrap it up soon. 10. It says Sirach 10 and 2. It says, as the judge of the people is himself, so are the officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all that dwell therein. And when one of the interviewers, you could clearly tell he was a waiter, sorry, and he was super effeminate. Okay, and that's the vibration. That's what I believe. I believe it was Nixon or Reagan, one of them, that said that thing is one of the. Matter of fact, let me look that up. Let's see. Let me look that up. Bohemian Grove. I think Nixon. It had to be Nixon. Oh, I spelled his name wrong. Yep, Bohemian Grove, Nixon, right? Let's see if we can find this. Okay, it says, what did Nixon mean when he said the Bohemian Grove was most faggoty goddamn thing you could ever imagine? Right? What do they mean by that? That's exactly what he means. All right, they got grown men dressed like women, and they doing all sort of abominable sacrifices and so forth. Here it is. They're guilty of that, and they the ones that was pushing a whole bunch of evil agenda. Going back to this real quick, Psalm 64 and 6. They search out iniquity, which is what? Sin. They search it out, meaning they go deep. They know what to trigger you. And once again, in the 80s, I remember as a kid, there was a show, The Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous. So in poverty, where people, you can live in a terrible neighborhood, you don't know what's what. You could get killed at any moment. Here they are, they're still pushing an agenda to get rich. And the only way to get rich at the time, for a lot of Jakes, was to sell drugs. All right, knowing what you want, the lifestyle that you require. All right, knowing what you will do to get it. So they plant certain things in people's mind. All right, it says they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them, and their heart is deep. So when we read out, it says, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly they shall be wounded. So all these secret meetings that cause all this, these terrible things that happen to Jake, they're going to have to pay for that. Every last one of them. All right? All Esau's secrets is coming out. Even old, new, whatever the case may be, is all coming out. The Lord is exposing them. I'm glad this person put that one, even though everybody knows about it, but it's good to see it. And to reconfirm, like, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is This is reality. If you get a little thing, says the Bohemian Grove, an elite invitation only social club found in San Francisco, 1872. So these people been practicing this madness for years. All right, showing that everything in this damn America is corrupt. All right, it's always been corrupt. And these are the things that I make mention through the Spirit. Or one of the main things is making out blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans' lives hell. These are the meetings that they was having. All right. So with that being said, shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.